what you were
I was
saying?
like the most passionate Christian you'll ever know.
My God.
Like I was so extreme. I'd go down Queen Street. I wouldn't have signs in that, but I'd go down and intuitively talk to people.
Mm.
And now I look back, I'm like, I actually had a good heart about it.
Yeah.
But I was doing it for works, and I was doing it so I could prove kind of to people that I could marry the pastor's son or something stupid like that.
Oh, wow.
Like I wanted to be a leader, and now I'm
Yes.
like, fuck that, because I became a leader and it was really hard, and I was like, girls were trying to be like me, and I was like, nah, like this isn't the way.
But what you said about feeling like you were doing the right thing, I feel like that's the biggest problem with cults. They're so good.
Yeah.
They're so good. They're so well crafted.
Yeah.
It makes you feel amazing. They're like you really make, and that's a tricky thing because it's faith. How are you gonna tell people not to have faith, right? So you really have to go to the top.
Well, look what's happening in Israel and Palestine. Like, Hamas think they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Israel thinks they're doing the right thing. And it's all based on, like, the biblical text, which is, like, generational trauma to me now. That's all I see it as. Yes.
So 19, you went on a big trip. And then how long did it take you to let go of the...
Yeah, so I came back to, like, a church in Auckland where my brother was playing guitar because he was a musician. And he really liked it. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll go to this. And the pastor like lured me in. Like he was like, who's that singer guy? Jay-Z. Mm-hmm. Like he was like Vin Diesel. He looked like Vin Diesel.
Oh.
And he was American. Yeah, see? And he was American, and I didn't think he was handsome, but like a lot of people like
that presence, like that strong presence.
Yeah, he had it. He'll sit on the couch and like he'll look like, Jay-Z when he sits down.
Okay.
And he was like a millionaire because he owned all the cafes in the uni in Auckland and like started it from a sandwich business and built his way up. Wow. And his whole thing was like, I'm not taking from the church. So I liked that because I didn't like pastors that were millionaires. And he looked at me and he's like, you're a potential disciple. The first day I went, and this is how he like lures people in, because he had 12 disciples and his wife had 12 disciples, and you wanted to be on that disciple team because they're going into like mega churches, like that's what they wanted to grow into. And I was like brainwashed into being like, this is elite. Like he would even tear down other churches. Like it was like every other Christian wasn't as holy as them. But we'd have crazy things happen, like people getting healed. Like my leg grew out in front of me. Like they hold your leg up like that, and my leg, I've got it on video, literally grew out. But everyone standing around me with like screaming and like praying and...
Whoa, wait.
There's so much. I know there's so much. It literally grew out. I have videos of it.
Wow.
That's true.
I think we need that video, man.
Yeah, I can get it for you. But now I look back, I see energy as God now. Now. Like, I'll tell you what happened with the church. So, like, I went every 2 or 3 days a week to become like a leader. Like I just wanted to be.
So you became one of the 12 disciples.
No, I didn't.
Oh,
I
you
never did. Which
Dang.
Is actually, I'm glad.
Oh, Jay-Z, come on.
So his top disciple was his pastor down. He had an affair with his wife. And I started dating this boy at school, at church, and the pastor came up to me and was like, you can't date that guy. And I was like, why not? And he was like, he just thinks with his penis. And I was like, what kind of pastor says that? Like, and he was the nicest, nerdiest guy. And then I got a job as an air hostess, and he was like, you can't do that job. And I was like, why not? And he was like, because you struggle with lust, and it's like a fat person who works in a bakery. Like, you'll just sleep around. And I was like, I haven't slept with anyone for 6 years. Like, I was celibate for 6 whole years. That's how intense I was. Like, about that. I had a purity ring, and I was just like, next man's my husband. And
what is a purity ring?
Purity ring, like I made like a vow to God that I wasn't going to sleep around because he'll send me my husband. It's just kind of like a thing. But I spent 2 years in that church, and I was spiritually abused. Like, they made me question everything about myself, everything about my soul. And I think spiritual abuse is so traumatizing, even though it doesn't look like trauma. It makes you like down to your core feel not good enough because they judge you on, like someone will walk in the room like new to the church and they would have gone, they've got a spirit of lust or they've got a spirit of fear, you know, like,
oh my God.
And they've put this thing on you straight away. And we saw demons coming out of people, but now I know shamanic work. I'm like, yeah, it's similar. It's just people releasing trauma, but they'd created more trauma.
How do you see the leg thing now from a different perspective? I'm just stepping there. Energy
manifestation. Mm-hmm. Like these guys, this guy was from Bethel Church. You know about Bethel Church?
Oh.
Do you know, Petra?
Heard the name, like it rings a bell, but I'm not.
Yeah, so Bethel Church is a huge church, mega church in America.
Bethel.
And they've got a lot of songs out, like you've probably heard a lot of them, but I went to it once.
Yeah.
And they have it feels like you're in heaven. It's crazy. It's like you go into like a hypnotic state and they have firewalls and they like stand on each side and you walk through the middle and you're like, you get whacked by like energy.
Wow. That's intense. Like it's spiritually, it just sounds like an intense space, even with all the people.
Yeah.
And all the action going on. It has to generate something even if it's with the wrong intention.
Yeah. But it's very manipulative. And when I was doing breathwork, when I started doing my breathwork, the biggest thing I had to face was the religion that was in me, because it was like this Vatican thing. Like, it's so hard to explain, but it was like laughing out of my throat. And it was like this control. And I think that's what I don't like about religion is now the control that people hold over other people. And it's all around money and power and like greed.
Do you remember the day or the moments that you were like, now, was it a process of letting go or there was like a bit of a moment that I'm out?
Yeah, so just before the affair came out, luckily I knew, like I just had a feeling that I had to go. And I lost all of my friends in that church. Like they were like, you're not of the same spirit now. They would scare me into not leaving. So few people would leave and Rob would like get up on the stage and like tear them all down. So you wouldn't want to leave because that would happen to you. And me and my brother started to be like, something's not right here. Like, because I lived with them at the time I was boarding. And the pastor got down one day and was leaving because he comes in late and he leaves early, you know, like, how cool are you? And then I said something to him and he's like, don't be weird. He just would always tear me down. And I was just like, you're a bit weird. And then he walked past my brother who's had 2 kids at the time and he was like, you're going to be all right. You're going to make it. And I'm like, he's already made it. Like, I just started to see. And he walked in one day and no one stood up for him and he was like, nobody stood up for me. And he was obviously just super insecure because he'd been to another church and saw how they treated the pastor and like he wasn't being treated like that. And I started I was doing makeup at the time. I was doing makeup at Showgirls on Sunday mornings for a calendar, and I got fully judged for that. And I was like, what if I'm there to talk to them about God? Like, and they were like, you shouldn't even step foot in there. And I was like, that's the moment. I was like, I don't like this place anymore.
Although you were hardcore on the religion thing, you had an open mind to just be yourself. And I guess there was a lot of women empowerment as well involved to be working with the girls, or you just saw it as a job and whatever.
It wasn't, he didn't tear down girls and women, although he had an affair on his wife. But there was like, women could be millionaires and make money and stuff, but you have to submit to your husband. It was like that. And I wasn't married at the time, so I didn't have that to deal with. But I saw a lot of women like in that church marry in the church, and they were just like submissive.
We had 2 great shows not that long ago. One was with a girl who's got a successful OnlyFans account, and she was a stripper before and sex worker. And we had one a little bit before that with Nocturnus. She does burlesque.
Yes.
But she's also involved with the strippers. And it was such a cool conversation. When you mentioned the calendar girls, is that how you call it? Sorry. I was just thinking about the perspective of someone working with them and watching their lives and having those conversations. Probably you learned a lot.
Yeah, I was just like, these girls are cool. And they even hired me to come in and do the girls' makeup in the nights because they'd just do it really bad. So she was like, you need to help them. Oh, God. I'd come in and the conversations, like they'd just come in and be like, just watch that guy in the corner. And, you know, like just they'd look out for each other, but they'd more mock the guys. They'd be like, oh, they're so stupid giving me $100. Like, go and find a girlfriend.
That's the one.
Yeah. Just go get that. Yeah. So, and then another girl was like, oh, I just got paid like $300 to have my hair sniffed. And like, all he want to do is must sniff my hair and have a hug. Oh. And we were just like, oh, poor guys.
That was the cool conversation that we had. I think it was actually off air. Unfortunately, usually that happens, you know, like we get in such a good vibe and great chats come after we finish the show. But that was the thing about how, although we're all about the empowerment and go for it, girl, you know, like, or guy, whoever is involved in that area, that professional area. But like how sad it is that a lot of those cases are people insecure, people who are struggling emotionally with money, but they got money, but they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Yeah. It's
heavy.
It's a strange position to be in, like as far as power goes. You can just imagine like how those men or women feel who walk in and ask for sexual favors, like for money. That's such a strange position to be in the beginning. Like it's amazing and women should feel empowered to do that job, but on the other end, is the other person happier? I mean, great if they are, but you know, what if they aren't? What then? That's a moral dilemma in itself.
Yeah.
Full on. Yo, here we go. Altbays Table Talk. We're live. I love when we start like deep already. That's cool. First of all, thank you so much for coming and joining us, and Petra coming back from a big trip overseas.
Yeah, super fun.
Good fun?
It's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
How does it feel to be back home and looking at things, the place where you grew up?
Yeah, it was completely different coming back home. I was like, whoa, because I left Whitianga 3 days after Gabrielle. So I didn't even get to see Whitianga properly. I was actually left from Hotwater Beach and went down to the South Island. I didn't even get to see Whitianga as a town until like, I think May, and then I saw it for 2 days and then I came back again. So it all looked destroyed. It looks so different even now. Like people don't realize it's totally different. Yeah. But then also there's like the people when you come back and they're like, oh my God, hi, how are you? Just like, oh yeah, I forgot a supermarket is no longer a place I can just walk around without saying hi to everyone.
It's good to have you back.
Yeah. Thanks you.
Thanks
it's good
for
to be
joining
back.
us. Yeah. Thanks for Cooked Coromandel for bringing some beautiful kai for us. That was yum. That was good. Did you like the food?
My God, yeah. Yeah, it was really good.
So good.
Oh, yum. And for the people watching our live stream on Facebook, if you are on YouTube, we're going to give some a double pass for the Coro Classic. So the show, it's happening in Matarangi on the 6th of January. And of course, Altbays and the Coro Mind magazine are involved. The boys are amazing. They're putting a beautiful lineup together. And we're going to give some tickets to our audience. So make sure to join our live stream on Facebook. And it's pretty easy. What we're going to do is you just put a comment there on why you should be the one that is going to take the double pass. Easy as that, easy like that. We're going to choose the most creative one and let you guys know on Tuesday, on our show on Tuesday. So again, go on our Facebook page, leave a comment there why you should be the one that will take a double pass for the Choral Classic. So, yeah, Taylor.
You need to like the page, both pages as well.
Thank you. So first, before you're doing that, you make sure that you hit the like button for the Altbays page and also the Choral Classic page. That's important. We're going to check that. Like both, and then why you should be the one to take that double pass. Easy. Cool way. Now is the time. All the festivals, all the gigs are coming to the Coromandel. You know, like it starts to feel like summer.
That's not rain.
Yeah.
Okay.
No rain.
I want to transition. I want to transition to the moment that you start to tap into what you do now as a career, and I think not just as a career, as a lifestyle for you, which is the breath. Yeah. Breathing work and all the healing parts that involves. Can you take me through your journey, please, Mary?
Yeah. So, as a makeup artist for 16 years and loved the job so much. I think what I loved most was just connecting with people. And I'd be way in people's faces, like they can't hide. I did Winston Peters' makeup once. And I was just like, you can't hide from me. And he's like, I see people's insecurities, and I love that I can do that. I could do that and make them feel comfortable, I guess. So then I did breathwork probably 10 years ago with a counsellor lady in Auckland. I couldn't get pregnant. At the time I was so stressed out. I had adrenal fatigue. And
what is adrenal fatigue? I saw that on your description. I was like, I'm going to wait and ask. I'm not going to Google it.
Yeah. So adrenal fatigue says your adrenals are burnt out. Your lymph nodes, your nervous system, everything's just like always working. And it's from stress burnout, basically. It's stress burnout. But your adrenals need to work nice and slowly. Like your lymph nodes work like that, like slow. And if you're just like pumping them, and they're not going to work as well. So I'd have coffee and I'd shake like the whole day, and I just kept doing it. And I'd rush to work, and and I'd hold my body wrong, and I was just like always up here. I think now that I look back, my breathing would have been so fast. Humans are meant to breathe like 6 breaths a minute.
What?
Animals that breathe slower live longer. So an elephant breathes like 4 breaths a minute and dies within 120 years, whereas like a rat breathes 120 breaths a minute and dies within 2 years. And it's the same across the whole board. And they've done studies around the world where villagers that breathe slower live longer. If you breathe slower, your loved one will breathe slower. If you breathe slower, your kids will breathe slower. And my breath would have been probably 25 breaths a minute. Like, I swear, I was a nut.
Shallow, just,
mouth breathe every single night. Like, my friend once said, in that state, was like, you're like a coil. She just couldn't handle my energy at that time, which is fair enough. It's all good. And then had a makeup brand, and I was just like, burning my ass. Like, it was so tiring, and I'd work till 12 every night. I'd do the website, I did the thing, I did the Instagram. I just kept going. And then I started a modelling agency, and then I had 2 kids under 3 at the same time, and I was on my bed like twitching from stress. And I'm going to backtrack. So I did the first breathwork 10 years ago with a lady, changed my life. So this was holotropic breathwork. It's a different style that I teach. It was like an hour.
An hour?
Mouth breathing?
Yes.
Wow.
So this is the most intense breathwork I've ever done. This one does create the most brain change because you're hyperventilating and you're like fully shutting down your default mode network, which is your ego. Once you shut your ego down, it's like bliss. And that's why people call it like bliss state. When you do these meditations and you drop in and you're just not in your monkey mind, which is like, I need to do this. I'm this person. I eat this. I worry too much. Like all that.
Please, let's remember where you are. But I got to ask that. Can you tap into that straight away, or someone would need preparation to go through that specific hour of madness?
So I can tap into it straight away now, but it took me like a whole year.
Oh no, but I mean, like if someone wants to go through it, is it okay to just start? Okay, let's sit down and do it. Yeah.
This is what the ancient stuff. Like, this isn't anything new.
That specific one of 1 hour. If you haven't done it before, you can have.
You can do it.
Wow.
Yeah. Unless you have like a heart condition.
Yeah.
If you're pregnant, you can't do it, and also if you have like COPD, which is, I don't know what that is, but I just know that that's one of the contraindications, or like a critical disease, and schizophrenia as well.
Okay.
Because there's. But apart from that, everyone can do it. The thing is, that's one style. If once you get into the breathwork world, it's like a rabbit hole. There's so many different styles. And Wim Hof's one, which you do, I find the breath holds a lot easier to get me into that state, which you've probably been in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Is that bliss? Is that peace, I would say?
It's your natural state.
It's amazing.
So it's your natural state. It's you tapping into your higher self.
I must say that after doing it for a while, it was hard to get to that level again. I don't know if there's an evolution that has to be, there's a follow-up thing of like keep changing and changing the amount of breaths. And I kind of like got to a point that Yeah.
Wim Hof was too much for my adrenals. Same with this other style. So the one I do is for relaxation. The other style that I did, within the first 5 minutes, I started like bawling my eyes out. And this was like the most profound experience. I was like, what is this? And the lady that was taking me through it was like, her name was Petra, and she'd been doing it since 1987 or something. She'd gone and like had a guru, and her smile lines went like up. Like, she was so nice, little old lady, And I said to her, you need to teach this, and I'm going to do this when I'm older. And I was still loved makeup at the time. She took me back to my birth thought, and she took me back to my conception thought. So tell me that's not life-changing.
Oh my God. Your conception thought.
Yeah. So when you're in this altered state, it's so hard to explain. And I have clients come and I'm like, now you know what I'm talking about, eh? And they're like, yes. But it's so hard to explain to people. So I'll explain it the best I can. I used to have recurring dreams as a child where I was floating in space, and someone would come past me and laugh, like float past me and like laugh.
It's a cool dream, must say.
Yeah. No, but he'd like cynically laugh.
But sounds cool.
I was terrified as a child. She took me back to that place. And your imagination is actually so powerful. Like, once you imagine something in that state, you're there. So I was in there floating around. And the conception thought was there too. And it was like, I'm going to go down there and I'm going to learn some lessons. And this was like just before I entered. And this thing laughing at me was like, I thought it was mockery, but it was more like, don't take it so seriously. So she switched it from what it was. It was fear, and then it turned into love. And my conception thought was, why me? My birth thought was, why me? So I was the youngest of 5. I felt like another episode of Survivor. Like, you know how they keep going? You're like, oh, it's just another episode. That's how I felt. And I grew up in a Christian family, so I just did what all my brothers and sisters did. I fit the mold, and I was the most rebellious out of all of them. So it was really hard for me. And I wasn't rebellious. I just would question things all the time. And my dad thought I was very rebellious. And my thought was, why me? And I saw how it went through my whole life. I saw how it went into my jobs. At the time I was doing makeup, and I was a very timid makeup artist. I'd show up to the job and be like, why did you pick me? Like, there's so many other makeup artists. Why did you pick me? So she changed my thought from why me to I am great and I'm meant to be here, which was my kind of conception thought. And it changed my life. Like, I was just like, I'm taking it way too seriously. I'm way too hard on myself. We need to just like chill and just love ourselves, really, basically. And that's where it started for me. I was like a breathwork convert. I studied, still did makeup, still had the brand until lockdown, and nothing was happening. And I was like, oh my God, like, how am I going to get through this? Like, I can't work. And I was working to keep myself busy so I didn't have to deal with like what's in there. Yeah. And workaholic. And I did some breath work in my studio, and I did an inner child session. And that's what changed my life to be like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to do this. That's what I want to do. And I was doing the inner child session. I was working with my dad in the garden, and he was like a workaholic. So he was just like an uptight workaholic man, American. And I was building this brick wall with him, and he said, you're the best worker in this family. And I took that as my identity. I took it as who I was, my worth, all of that. And
wow.
Then I took that into my life, and all I wanted people to say to me was, you're an awesome worker. How do you do all that stuff? You're amazing at what, like, you're an entrepreneur. All that. And I just held her, and in this session, because as I said, when you do breath work and you're in this altered state, you're there. So I was like visualizing me holding my younger self, and I was like, you don't need to be scared. You are good enough, like, you're enough, you're safe, and you don't need to strive. And once I got that, everything that wasn't for me just crumbled away. And I'm so grateful for it, because I'd still be striving if I didn't do that.
Wow.
That's powerful. A lot of when we talk about the power of breathing, I can't avoid connecting with what psychedelics do, because when you read and when you understand, a lot of people say that what you can achieve there can be achieved through breathing. But if from what you're telling me, it feels like when you go through breathing, it's a bit more permanent, because then you have the power to tap into that yourself.
Yeah.
Is that right to say?
Yeah.
That?
So psychedelics are good to get you out of your way, but breathworks, you've got to face it as well. So, there's that song.
There's no shortcuts.
Yeah, there's that song, you can't go over it, you can't go under it, you have to go through it. That's kind of what I tell my clients, is like, you have to face it. Wow. And you have to change that cycle, which is what psychedelics do. And I was listening to a podcast on the way here about psychedelics with Professor David Nutt or something. And he said depression starts from childhood and not feeling good enough. So he would like give people a psychedelic trip, and their depression will be healed for 6 months, and then it would come back. And so I'm like, that's why you need breath work.
Wow.
So these journeys that I do for people that are inner child journeys is usually you go back to a house that you remember when you were young and see what happens. And usually they're like, she was scared of everyone, or her mum like just didn't see her, or nobody heard her. Like, I've had guy clients come in and I'm like, how was your childhood? And they're like, because they'll come in for stress, right? And they're like, yep, childhood was fine. And I was like, why are you here? And so we'd do the inner child work. And this guy never cried, like, for years. And he went back to when he was 4 years old, and he was crying, and his mum was like, stop crying. Like, boys don't cry. So he just held it all in. And then he cried for a whole week, and his girlfriend was like, what did you do? And I'm like, just let him cry.
Let him cry.
Let him get it out, because it's stored. It's been stored in your cells for like years.
The classic toughen up, isn't it?
The absolute masculine is the most powerful, toughest thing that's ever existed, but it's not even what masculinity is. It's just an idea of manhood that, you know, we've built over years of different constructs and societal ideas. It's completely unstable.
What's interesting is that the work that you're doing sounds like hard work, because society is playing against all the time. Everything that we do every day plays against what we would call normal, maybe, which is cooperation, collaboration, loving each other, you know, like loving ourselves and supporting each other. There's a sense of competition that triggers those words, because I guess with girls it is what you said, oh, good girl, good job, you know, it's also not good. You got to be very mindful of like those words that you use and how someone is behaving in the society, right? So you're helping a lot of people, but the big work, it's structural. And that takes time, I guess. How do we tap into, like, how do we take these things to, I guess, schools?
I've done some work in schools with this. It was like a health class I went into. Half of them fell asleep.
Oh, good. Have a rest. But
I was
point.
Like, I'm glad you feel safe to do that. That's good. But then the other half were like, what was that? Like, I did a quite empowering one too. Like, you can be whatever you want. Like, imagine what you're doing in the future. Once you get to that state, you can manifest and you can like. So basically, when you're doing breath work, especially when you do the breath hold in, Dr. Joe Dispenza has talked about this, and you open your pineal gland. So your pineal gland is actually your creative mind and your sexual energy. So your sexual energy is one of the most powerful things on earth. Once it gets working in your pineal gland, you can communicate in frequency. So you can communicate at the speed of light, and that's why a lot of people have profound experiences, or like dead ones arrive and just talk to them. It's so amazing. Like, I've had so many clients whose dads have just shown up who have passed, and I could just feel him, and he'll be like, thank you for letting her just relax so she can listen to me. And I think there's so much power in silence, and there's so much power in just stopping and slowing down and being in the moment over striving and building your name on earth, because it will go. Like, in 300 years, no one's going to know who we are.
That's right.
It's just nuts.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask a question about, like, what was that process of slowing down, because that is, like, the thing that gurus and leaders have said over the years. It's just, you have to slow down. You have to stop thinking. You have to. What was the process for someone who was so constantly wound up and moving and feeling and so invested in that? What was the process like of just actually, was it in a moment or was it gradual? Like, I just, want to know what that process was for you.
For me? I was just like, okay, so the big wake up call was my son was born, and he had like the crazy fast heartbeat and breathing, like, and they didn't know what was wrong with him. Like, they checked his bloods, they checked everything. They're like, I was like, he's in my body. It's all right. That's what it was. And actually at the time I didn't know that. I was just like, what's wrong with him? Like, he's still got a bit of anxiety now, but I teach him breathing and I slow down. And so the moment I realised I'd left the makeup brand, and I was worried about what everyone was saying, like, because I just kind of like wall stoned everyone. I was like, I need to focus on this now, and this comes first, not everyone else. And I remember my breath being like there all the time, and I was like, you're like my friend, like. And I heard it say like, I've got you, and I feel safe in my body now. And I think that's what helped me, was just to be like, I'm safe. And a lot of people don't feel safe in their own bodies. Like, you just have to go to the supermarket to see that.
Wow, what you're saying is so powerful, because I'm thinking about again, it's just because it's part of my reality, but the school environment. Because teachers are dealing not with kids, they're dealing with whānaus, they're dealing with whole families that have their struggles. It doesn't matter how perfect the family might look like, because we are in an area that a lot of people are privileged, and they're wealthy. It doesn't mean that they're not going to face problems and have issues that come from their parents or from the upbringing.
Yeah.
So we're dealing with a very tough situation there, right?
Yeah. Generational trauma is a big one. Like, they did a study on rats, and so the first lot of rats, they sprayed this fragrance and then they electrocuted them, their feet. Then they had babies. And then they sprayed the fragrance and they freaked out. So, first they sprayed the fragrance, they didn't freak out. Then they electrocuted them. The second ones sprayed, they freaked out. So they had the trauma from the electrocution from their parents. They had babies and they did the same thing. So, like, 3 generations, I think the next one stopped. But, yeah, it's a big one.
It's powerful. It's stored in your body and then it gets passed down to the bodies that you create at the same time. That's incredible.
Yeah, so I feel like I did that. And I'm not holding it against myself, but, like, I had that from my dad. It's also a coping mechanism. So you're just going to mimic your parents. So I sit down now and I breathe in front of my kids. I don't go and hide. I do it in the lounge, and they can join if they want, or they can just watch. But they know now I get stressed out still. And I'll say, I'm overwhelmed, I'm going to go and breathe. And then they'll start to follow that. So doing your practice in front of your loved ones or your kids will change them too. They'll see.
You'll see. Wow. Would you recommend, like, for families, and especially with phones nowadays, like that we're all addicted. It's easy to blame the kids, but as you said, the parents set the example. Are there small steps that families can start doing? What would you say? I
think, like, if you're listening to this and you have kids, like, just slowing down your breath, you'll notice them start to do it. My son was always wound up when he goes to bed, so I'll lay with him and I'll teach him this breath, actually, that my daughter taught me. When she was worked up, she'd breathe in and then she'd take, like, 3 exhales. And I'd notice her body would relax. So I do it with my son now. And I'm like, remember, just let your body relax, and then he'll go straight to sleep. So you can do it again with me if you want. Yes. So breathing in. Please. And then out. Every time you let go your body even more. And you can do, like, 8 exhales if you want to. But the thing with that is, when you breathe in, your heart rate spikes, and when you breathe out, your heart rate goes down. So your diaphragm's like pushing, your diaphragm pulls down when you take a breath in. And it actually is your diaphragm doing all the work. So a lot of people don't use their diaphragm, it's all locked up. And if your diaphragm's locked up, it sends a message to your nervous system, because it's got, like, all the muscles on the spine. It sends a message to your spine and your nervous system that you're stressed out. So if you're shallow breathing, you're mostly living in fight or flight, or freeze, actually. And if you look into animals for this, an animal is, like, one of my best teachers. Like, just watching them breathe. All animals nose breathe, except for dogs that are, like, inbred, or horses that are dying. But apart from that, every animal nose breathes. We should just be nose breathing, slowing down our breath. And if I was to put, like, the heart rate monitor on you, when you breathe out for 3 breaths, your whole heart rate goes down, and then you can come back into your body. So when I think people are in fight or flight like this, it's like they're trying to escape their body. It's trying to escape their emotions and their feelings, because it's not okay to feel all these things. And, like, how dare you cry in public, and how dare you shake? Whereas animals will shake if they've gone into a traumatic experience. There's a video of, like, a cheetah who's caught an impala, and he thinks he's killed it and runs off to get something. And the impala's like in a shock state, like acting dead. And then its breath comes in real quick, and then it will shake like crazy. You should look it up. Like nuts shake. And what it's doing is releasing the stress chemicals from its body. So once it does that, it gets up and just runs off. Humans aren't allowed to do that in public, right? So what it's doing is shaking off like what you'd call it, PTSD. And it's moving on because it knows it has to survive. So like it will just do that and go. Another thing that animals do is like hide behind, if they're being preyed on, they'll hide behind a bush and they'll shallow breathe. And this is what most humans do. Like they're like, I can't breathe loud. Like I can't make noise. I can't be too much. Like someone will see me. It's just, now that I've learned all this and I go out into the world, all I see is people's trauma. I don't get mad at people now. I'm like, wow, she was angry, but she's probably got trauma.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
Makes you more acceptable. You understand. Understanding it's king, right? Seeing what's happening in front of you, not judging, not just.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I suppose you're yet to meet a human who hasn't got some form of trauma that they're still holding on to.
Yeah, it's a big one.
And I guess you also start to understand a lot of your physiology as well, like because it's not just about getting the techniques right, but also understanding what the body is going through. I want to ask you about the stimulants that we are so used to, the coffee, the energy drink. It's just a part of it, and the eating habits as well. You know, like can you have let's say a normal Western diet and still benefit from breathing, and you know, like, or we should be looking at the whole spectrum? And
well, somatic breathwork and like, or somatic living. So somatic means everything's connected. So like your nervous system is your brain. So like if I took a picture of your brain and your nervous system, it's this jellyfish thing. But if someone walked in the room right now that you didn't like, what would your body do? That's your nervous system. That's your nervous system reaction, right? Which is your brain. It's so crazy. And then if someone walked in the room that you love, what would you do?
Sort of melt a little bit.
Yeah. So if you ate something you didn't like, what does your body do? You know?
Oh, yeah.
If you ate something you know is bad for you, what's your body going to do? But there was a study done about this, and they gave a group 2 milkshakes, and one was like really good for you and one was really bad for you. And obviously the one that was really bad for you had horrible results, and the one that was really good for you had great results. So I'm a huge believer of moderate eating and intuitive eating. And if I think it's going to be bad for me, I'll usually change the thought that it is. Because I think our mind is so powerful. And I've got friends that are vegans, I've got friends that are carnivores, I've got friends that eat whatever they want. And I've got a great relationship with food now because I just eat what I want when I want. And if I know that it's not going to be good for me, I won't go there. Yeah.
Powerful.
Yeah. It's incredible, honestly. Yeah. I've like explored that intuitive eating a lot recently, especially being overseas. And you don't realize when you're thinking about food and what I'm going to eat, your mind cannot even come close to what you need. Because I was overseas and I was eating like very little just because I was like, in my mind, this is enough. I was like very broke. I was like, we did it as cheap as possible. So I was like, oh, this is enough. This is fine. You can rationalize it always. You can just be in your mind that this is great. But when you come back and you're like 10 kilos lighter, you realize your body knows way better than your mind does. And so just listening to that and being like, listen, this is what my body wants. And, you know, I've been understanding my cravings more, and it's just so great. I've like not been able to maintain a weight in my life until the past 6 months. Yeah. Which is insane.
That's awesome.
I feel like I'm going through a moment where I'm putting myself in the position of like, I have to push because we want things to work, you know, especially when it's your business and you know that well. When you're starting a business and you're like, although you know that it's organic and it's going to happen, you kind of want to make things happen faster. So I see myself tapping into that mindset sometimes. I'm like, oh, it's fine. Like I'm compromising my health a little bit or my sleep a little bit, but because I know that there's a journey here that if I can cut some corners, I will see progress faster. How does our body respond to those stories that we tell ourselves? Because I try to find peace with the journey. You know, like I've been there before. I've been in situations that I put up with a shitty boss or a shitty job because working class high. So we do it, right? But then I was like, cool, I'm getting to that point B. But the body's paying the price, right? So how do we do it? How do we tell these stories and how do we work on acceptance in a world that is not that fair? Big questions. Hey, shit.
I mean, there's days where I still get frustrated, like no one's booking, and I'm like, how do people not know how powerful this is, and how do I get it out there? And then I'll go meditate, and then because if you're magnetic, people will find you. I found you because of your energy, so just be magnetic. So there's a difference between like striving and then there's a difference between like magnetic. And even with a partner, like, are you just going to do your thing and like attract that person that's on the same journey as you? Or are you going to like go and find them, you know? Like it's a beautiful thing once you get into this like magnetic state and you're like, find your authentic self, be who you are, don't put on a facade, and then people can find you if you aren't playing another role, you know. People can actually find who you are.
Because I feel like sometimes I overdo it, you know, trying to be something. You do more than you should. Even Taylor tells me sometimes, he's like, you're doing too much, you know, like it's already happening. Like you don't have to force it. You don't have to put all your cards at the table, you know, like you gotta pay attention to your energy as well because it's already happening. Do
you feel like it's burning you out?
It doesn't burn me out because I'm enjoying the journey.
Okay, well, you know what I mean? Don't listen to people then.
Yeah, but like, no, I mean, but like in a way of like sometimes trying to show too much or trying to do too much can also scare people away. You know what I mean? No, not really?
No, I think if you're doing it out of your own goodness, then you might be too much for people, but it's
not the right people then.
It's not the right people. Mm-hmm. I love it. I love that you're doing what you're doing, like getting it done. It's just if you're getting burnt out by it, it's probably not a good thing. And if you don't like doing it, don't do it. Like it's that simple. With makeup, I love doing it. With the brand, didn't like it at the end. It was just repetitive, and I just got to the point where I was like, I'm not challenging myself enough. And I went and I studied for a whole year of breathwork. I studied courses, but I also studied myself, and I did the work, and it was just a cool journey that healed a lot of parts that I didn't even know were an issue. Try breathwork.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's so good.
That's us, eh, Petra?
Yeah, definitely.
Some breath work.
Just why don't we just sit here and breathe for the podcast right into the microphone?
Bit of ASMR.
Yeah, exactly.
I read what you said about the 5-6 breaths per minute on that breathe by James Nestor.
Yes.
Amazing book. I think we should be doing a collaboration with him because I talk about that book so much.
Yeah, you should.
So important. Yeah. So beautiful. Yeah.
He was on one of the first podcasts that I listened to 4 years ago, and I was like, I'm going to do this. I was driving up to Auckland to do a photo shoot, and I did 12 makeups that day, and I drove home that night, and I was laying in my bed twitching from chronic stress, and I was like, that's it. My body's given up on me. I got a migraine at like 2 a.m. and I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm going to do not this anymore. And James Nestor was like cheering me. Like, I could just hear him like cheering me on.
Spot on, eh?
So cool.
Yeah. And coming with the historical background, I feel like that's what gave me, like, that's what made me even more interested.
Yeah.
He goes back in history, you know, like he studied skulls of different times and how people were behaving at the time, and like how that changes the shape of our face because of our breathing, you know, like the thing of the chins being tucked in, you know, like people
mouth breathers.
Mouth breathers. So let's talk about mouth breathers and why that is so can be so damaging to us. What's up? What happens to us?
Things.
What happens to us that suddenly we're mouth breathing?
Yeah, I can tell you my story.
Yes,
so
please.
I was the youngest, and I always shared a room with people, and I had an opportunity to move into this like little room that had no ventilation, and I was just like, I don't care, I want my own room. It was just like this brick room with no window because my dad built it under the ground, and I started getting a sore throat every morning, and actually listening to James Nestor's something that he was talking about is if you have too much CO2 in the room and no ventilation, your breathing can become quite horrible because you're trying to get more oxygen when the room's full of like CO2 toxins and things like that. So when we breathe in oxygen, and when we breathe out carbon dioxide, and it's literally detoxing 70% of your body, like getting all of the toxins out. It's not just going to the bathroom. That's why I wasn't a big believer on masks, so you're breathing in your own carbon dioxide and out and in and out the whole time. Where are we going? I just forgot.
You're telling us about being in a room, in a small room, and struggling with your throat.
Started mouth breathing, sore throat, and then I didn't even know this until now. I'm like, oh my God, that's what happened. So I had mouth breathe from like 14 to 33, and I tape my mouth every night now, and I wake up not sore. So what it's doing is, like, when you nose breathe, you're filtering the air. You've got like these pockets here which can let a lot of air in and filter.
So for the people listening to us, it's our
cheekbones, like, and there's holes in there. And you're creating nitric oxide in these pockets, and it's a relaxant, so it gives you a better sleep. It clears the nose as well. So a lot of people think they have a stuffy nose because they can't breathe through their nose, but they have a stuffy nose because they are mouth breathing. So you have a stuffy nose is because you're breathing in too much oxygen, your body's CO2 tolerance is not very good, and your body's like, I need to slow down this intake of oxygen. So it blocks the nose up. And I've got a great tip for you to get rid of a blocked nose, and I'll prove to you how much nitric oxide that you make through here, because it will clear your nose up. So breathing in and then breathing out, block your nose. Do you want to do it? Get all the air out. So you've only got carbon dioxide in your system. Block the nose and then move your head around, like for as long as you can. And that should clear your nose right up. Do you feel the difference?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so if you're sick, you can do that like 3 or 4 times, and it will clear your nose, you tape your mouth, you go to sleep, and you wake up well. Like, wow. It's so good.
Even if you're like, say you've got like the flu or you've got like a cold, because that's something I was like, I hated mouth breathing when I was younger. I went the complete opposite way. Like I couldn't, and every time my nose was blocked, I'd freak out.
Yeah.
And that was the big thing, because I had a cold, and that was it.
So you can
never get rid of it, and that's it.
Yeah. And there's also like a New Zealand brand, Rocket Fuel, that you can try. It's like have you heard of it?
No.
It's so good. It's like natural menthol crystals and like honey in that, and it's a dropper, and it just clears everything. So I'll do that if I'm really sick. But apart from that, I'll do the thing and tape, and I'll wake up with a clear nose.
Yeah, I've been taping my mouth for a while as well. Yeah. Just to wake up with like, it's humid, you know, like it's not a dried mouth. That's what I noticed, that it was working. And you just collapse, you just sleep very well. Yeah. I started doing because I was waking up like 2 times to go to the toilet, to go pee. I'm like, I don't know if this is normal. And then I think it was the book actually who.
So good.
You just
and the Bee Gees used to mouth tape, eh? Did you know?
No.
Really?
There's like pictures of him, well, one of the guys mouth taping. I think that was really cool.
Wow.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're dehydrating your whole body. If you mouth breathe, your teeth can get decay easier. There's just so many more benefits to nose breathing.
Take us through more different techniques that we can find out there. What people do, like technique wise. What are the ways, and
So,
what are we targeting for different ones?
Putting your tongue at the roof of your mouth, like there's a bump behind your teeth there. You can kind of feel that. That's where the tip of your tongue should go, and then you push your tongue up, and it should sit along the ridge. If you do that, you can't mouth breathe.
That's true. You can't.
So I exercise like that.
Yeah.
You can't unless you.
Yeah.
But that's just uncomfortable, so you wouldn't do it. So every time I walk up like the mount or mountains, I'll put my tongue to the roof of the mouth, and I'll focus on my diaphragm strength. So using my muscle, it's literally like a muscle jellyfish that pushes your lungs in and out, and it gets your posture right. So a lot of people like exercise, mouth breathe, hold their shoulders. It's so gross to watch now. And I just stopped this lady once. She was like, she was struggling, up this hill, mouth breathing. And I was like, hey, I was pumped up because I just learnt this. I was like, if you like nose breathe, you can like have the best time. And she's like, I've been walking up this hill for years. I'm fine. And I was like, all right, you live in your body, that's fine. And from then on, I was like, fuck everyone, I'm just going to like look after my breathing, and then hopefully they can see it.
Yes.
Yeah, I was so excited though.
Yeah,
I really thought I'd change
it's amazing. Bro, I've been running for a very long time, and like the second I like heard it very briefly, you should nose breathe while you run. It's better for you. Like I was just like, okay, whatever, I'll give it a try. I don't even know any of the research behind it. I think I ran about like 4 kilometers more than I normally do, and it's just because like, God, it's not rocket a lot. Let's be real. It's not rocket a lot because you have to have a clear airway, and then you're clearing it all out. It's just you go so much further, and you feel less fatigued.
Yeah, it's
immediately.
Yeah, you just have to watch like the Olympics and see how they're breathing, and they're crazy. And they get all the air out of their lungs before they take their next breath. Like the marathon runners, it's pretty amazing. And I did a study here, like just on myself with a skipping rope. I have a video of it too. And I did it mouth breathing, and I was like tripped over, and my heart rate was still at 100. I just like tripped over again, and I was still at 100. It was like a minute of skipping compared to nose breathing. And it was, so that one was in the red and the other one was still in the green for the most of the time. And I didn't trip. Like I was just more focused, and it went to orange just at the end, but it was great. Like amazing how.
And I guess dealing with what's happening around you as well, because what a crazy world we're living in. I see when people put into perspective, if you look back in history, like the way that we're living now, it's amazing, like less people die and technology is helping us in so many ways. And I'm like, yeah, but it feels like that connection, the human thing, that we should be evolving at the same pace. Like we should be much kinder to ourselves. If the world is that good, like a lot of people say, I try my best to keep it on the positive side, but it feels like we're not evolving as much in that realm of looking after each other and working on ourselves more.
Yeah, it definitely starts within. Like if you can control your breath, that's what I tell my son. If you can control your breath, you can control your nervous system. You don't need to control everyone around you because you feel in control. And I think a lot of people that want to control everyone else doesn't feel in control of themselves or their temper or their trauma. It's sad, really. Now I look at it and I'm just like, oh, man, like it's so simple. You just have to be willing to want to face yourself and face why you don't feel worthy or why you don't feel safe. Or do you actually just think you're a bad person? That was a big one for me. I was just like, after I left the businesses and everything, because I left all the left all the models, I left my makeup brand, stopped doing makeup, and was in quite high demand at the time. And I was just like, what if everyone needs me? Like, and I got to a point when I was like, you're a good person. Okay. Like, I just kept saying that over myself. You're a good person. And I started to believe it. And then I didn't tell the stories to myself that I'm horrible and that I'm not good enough and da-da-da-da, you know, which causes depression.
High rates, very high rates of depression.
Very high rates.
Right. Are they that high, or we just have more data and more awareness of what's happening around the world? And now they are skyrocketing, right?
I think people are always a little bit depressed, but like you can see it in the boomers. Like that's the problem though. They weren't very self-aware. And I blame the war for that because everyone else had it worse than you. So how dare you complain about your own thing? And it was suppressed for so long to talk about your emotions. So now it's coming out extreme, but I think it will settle. It will settle.
A believer. Yay.
It will. Imagine if every person in the world knew their worth and looked at the big picture and was like, I'm on earth to learn these lessons. Thank you to this person who hurt me. Thank you to this person who doesn't like me. You know, it would be a beautiful place because we'd just all like each other and no one would be striving and no one would be like climbing each other's ladders, and we should just make our own ladders.
A beautiful friend came as a co-host. She's amazing. Stella Pennell. She's a sociologist, and she was telling me that she's got a friend who works with natural disasters, and like how humans get together when shit hits the fan. You know, so at the end of the day, that's what we do. We are here to help each other. You don't watch someone, you know, like Johnny. You do something. You try your best to help people when it gets to those extreme situations. So it is our nature, to support each other, right?
Yes. So this is a big one because I believe we all come first to ourselves, and once you love yourself, you can love others. If you don't love yourself, how are you going to love others? Well, there are people who give and give and get, like Mother Teresa, right? But she may have been burnt out, but I think she knew her worth. And I think that's why she could do so much and do it genuinely. I've read things that she was very tired and she'd just walk around saying, I thirst to God, which is what Jesus said on the cross. But I've seen it in the church too, where people would just give and just burn out. But they're doing it for like works instead of filling their own cup first, and it just overflows. You become magnetic. You do what you love. Everyone else does what they love, and just be cool.
How do you have clients or cases, or have you done some study on like overeating or not eating at all? You know, like when people start to tap into those things of like the food becomes a thing.
Oh yeah, because food is comfort. Food is, I've got a friend who really focuses on this, and she said she'd comfort eat, and that was the only way she could control. But also my sister's anorexic, so I've seen that side too, and that was how she could control. So she didn't feel in control, so she would control what she ate. And yeah, that was really hard to watch. But yeah, you see it across the board. Food is a big one.
Especially with the amounts and everything that we can access nowadays, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can just control, like you can say, I'm going to go down here and I'm going to buy this, this and that, which is such a beautiful thing. But at the same time, sort of like food is no longer just it's no longer just, oh, I've got to eat it. You know, now it's, oh, I have to eat, yeah. But what foods am I going to eat? How much am I going to eat? Where am I going to get it from? You know, and it's more, it puts more of the conscious control into your hands, which most people 99% of people can't handle that amount of, because that's a lot. That's your entire being sustained. And you have to think about it under blaring lights, grabbing an apple from a grocery store.
Yeah.
And the apple is not even the apple with the nutritional value that it should have, because it's
we've lost all connection.
I wanted to add to that the pills, the medicine, the pharmaceutical industry, because I guess just by default, just by who you are and what you do, it becomes an enemy. It shouldn't be, because it can be so helpful. It can save lives when you really need a medical pharmaceutical approach. Yeah. But we know that that's not how it works. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, so I look at cellular healing with my work. The guy who I trained under, he was a pharmacist for years in England, and he's Indian as well. So he got the disease, and he was like going to the bathroom and bleeding the whole day. And he went to the doctors and they told him he had 1 year to live. And he was like, I don't want to believe that, because he just told me my fate. And he was like, no, the drugs weren't working. And he ended up going to India and practicing pranayama off like the elders. He did 5 days in the dark. He did all this stuff. And he created this thing called soma breath, which is who I studied under. He's very science-based, which I really liked about it. And it is similar to Wim Hof, but it's more relaxing. So it's rhythmical breathing, which gets your heart into coherence. And then it's the breath holds and manifestations and things like that. So he healed himself doing this. And then he came back to work and he was trying to like tell the pharmaceutical industries how great it was. And they said to him, there's no money in it, so you're fired. And I think he just left. But he ended up working a little bit there, like after that or through it, and was telling his clients to get off Coke, to get off all the McDonald's, whatever they were eating. And the doctors were like, what did you do? And he's like, I just told them to stop eating bad food, because they were healing. And yeah, so I don't know. I just think cellular health's more important. Like our cells, we've got trillions of cells. They all need oxygen. If you're not breathing properly, how are you going to get all of that blood flow and that healing into your cells? And a good way to explain it is just to squeeze your fist really tight like this, like really tight, and then let go. Just look at that blood flow that's trapped. Is that in your body? Is it in your shoulders? Is it in your tummy? Is it in your? Are you holding grief in your tummy? Are you holding tension in your tummy? Do you not feel good enough when you walk in a room? And then the blood flow is not going to come in. And in martial arts, they know this. So like their whole state is to be relaxed. You know, they're always jiggering. Like that's like another somatic form of relaxation. Even before they go into combat, relax them, right? So you're not going to heal if you're wound up in tension. You're not going to heal if you're all tight and stressed out. Let's take a pill, which won't even get to the root of the problem, and live our lives. Like that's kind of what we've got to. And I'm here to say, no, you can heal yourself. And you can, your cells are so smart. Like in 2 whole years, you're a whole new cellular being. Except for your liver, that takes 7 years. So if you're telling your cells that you're sick, that you're not good enough, your cells will just, what do? They divide, and then that one dies. And then they divide again, and that one dies. So if you're telling your cells the same story, they're just going to pass that on. Have you seen a cell? It's like a city. Like it's like a little network and city. And I had to hear this too, which was I'm not stuck with myself. And I was the type of person that like moved from country to country every 2 years until I like burnt bridges, or I was like, fuck these people. I'm moving to the next town. And then the same thing would happen. But it was just, I was stuck with myself. And I'm not, and you're not stuck with yourself. You can create change in your cells, you can create change in your brain, and you can just become a superhuman of healing. And yeah, you see it I've seen it in the people that trained me. So I usually gravitate towards those people that I can see have done the work and they're like fit, healthy. They don't strive. They're relaxed most of the time. They're the people I want to be around, and all my friend groups are like that now, and I just love it.
Yeah, the thing with success, right? It can be so damaging because you might be at a good mind space, you know, you might be feeling good about the things that you're doing, but in your mind, you're seeking that success.
Yep.
Like,
so what is success to you?
It doesn't exist, right? Like, oh, it might exist, but like, as you said before, I think we haven't started the show. And then when you get there, you're just bored.
Yeah.
Like, the success that you always went for.
Yeah.
Then you just had enough. We had Emma Jensen here. She's Fat Freddy's Drop tour manager. And she's worked with like incredible artists like David Bowie, right? You know, like she's done incredible festivals. And then she was telling us it was cool. You know, she was like, oh, and I worked my ass off to be where I wanted to be. And when I was there, I was just tired. I was like, I didn't want to do it anymore. I was like, So the idea of what we want for ourselves, we got to be careful because it can be a trap, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I did like the owner of Walmart's makeup on a super yacht. She was like worth $4 billion or something. Her super yacht was like $2.5 million. And I hated every moment of it. I was just like, I don't like this. Because my whole thing was to go to Hollywood and be like work with famous people. And I was like, she was mean to me. She fired my friend on the first day. Yeah, it was just not cool. Everyone was kissing her ass and I wasn't, and she actually liked that. She asked me to go to Monaco after that, but I asked for more money and she said no.
You're not that rich, bitch.
Well, she's rich. She's rich because she's...
Yeah. She keeps it,
Yeah, she came down and she was like, look at my $29 dress. And I was like, $29,000 or like $29?
Yeah.
I don't know. It looked like $29 dress.
I'm finding that, I'm understanding that with the magazine, because it's the first time in my life that I'm actually selling a product that it's mine. So it has a lot to do with myself, obviously. You know, it's a community work, of course, but like someone has to go out there and sell it, right? And then you start to understand the connections with people. And some businesses are not the wealthiest ones, eh? Like some people who have been with us from day one, they are probably the ones who work the most.
Yeah.
You know, like they're working their ass off and they're like, man, we're going to support. Like, obviously we appreciate all support, you know, like for the people who hold the magazine and have a look, it's already supporting us. But a lot of them, they put the dollar without even worrying if it's going to come back or not.
Yeah.
It's just that interesting thing. And I'm paying attention to a lot of those things. And I'm like, that's us. We have to do that with our business as well. You know, let's bring people in. We open the doors first before wanting something from them. You know, like let's be welcoming, and then you never know what's going to come out of that. But open the space first.
Yeah.
And then you pick up on people's vibes very easily after that.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Very quickly.
Very quickly. And I guess you saw some of that by going to countries with different lifestyles as well, and social economics and all this stuff.
It was completely different overseas, especially in Europe. You know, you see so much of what we do in as a colony in Europe, and then at the same time, so much of what we don't do. Like in Europe, they might do what we do during the winter, but then during the summer, gone. Nothing. And, you know, a lot of businesses are actually just family run, and that's what their business is. They're not a way of making money, they're a way of life. You know, for Europeans, work is life. It's not. It's like who you are. This is what I do. It's not just go to work to get money. Like it is, you know, often I find in the colonies and in the UK, it's I work to live. And then in Europe, it's not I live to work. It's I am my work. I run a bakery because I run a bakery, and that's what I do. And this is my social life, and this is my connections. But then during the summer, in most European countries, because it gets too hot, they just drop it and they stop, and they do have a period of relaxation
that's
that
cool.
not a lot of countries do experience. Like there's a 3-month 2-3 month period in Greece where I encountered people who probably had beautiful jobs and beautiful lives sitting on the beach naked under a tarp for 3 months of the year. Nothing
Might
else.
move it here.
Sounds fun.
Nothing else. Just getting completely full body sunburned all day. It's
We didn't
completely different.
We didn't even tap on that, right? Sunlight. Just some bathing and just being exposed to.
Yeah, sunlight's great for you. Do you know that your mitochondria is stronger than the sun?
Seriously.
Your energy is stronger than the sun. That's the Zach Bush teaching if you want to look it up. But man, when I heard that, I was like, whoa. So having a hug with someone is energetic and it's healing, like the sun. It's like a vitamin D hit.
Wow.
That's why I think what happened with me in that church was like what happened. Everyone had their hands on me. I think we're way more powerful than we think we are. Our energy, our aura, our frequency. And frequency is a big one too, which I add into the work that I do. And I've got these tuning forks. They're like miracle tone. So like 525, something like that. I had this client come in. She was breathing like 30 breaths a minute or something crazy. She hadn't had her period for 2 years, which I didn't know that. So I was going over her body. I go over people's bodies with these tuning forks, and I can tell when it's not connecting, like it shakes in my hand. Went over her womb space. It was like, and I was like, whoa. So I cleared it out. I did my thing, like my energetic thing, clear her out. She got her period the next day, and now she's pregnant, and she was told she was never going to get pregnant. So I have huge belief in frequency. If we went down the Nikola Tesla path, science would be a whole different world right now. There'd be free energy. The world would be like pretty cool, I think, once they tap into this.
Do you think, what's the name of the guy? Elon Musk or companies that are trying to tap in a different approach to like, I know that it's hard because it's so capitalism based and then involves wealth, but like in the way of thinking?
Yeah, way of thinking's good, how he's shaking it up, but I don't know about the batteries, use of batteries. There was these machines, Dr. Richard Greer, have you heard of him?
No.
He actually like channels aliens. It's so crazy.
Great.
No, but he's worked with the CIA and he's worked with like presidents and stuff. He did a doco about free energy, and he had footage of like the guys that had made them, and then they just disappeared like that week. So there is something out there called free energy, and it is based on frequency.
Okay, I hope you don't disappear tomorrow.
No, I won't. I don't know too much.
Oh yeah, I'm good staying here.
Yeah, I don't know too much about it, but it's quite interesting, that little doco, if you want to look it up.
Right. Well, there's this thing with control. So going back to what you said about the energy and being able to heal and support people, I guess you have to be keen as well. You have to believe that it's going to help you. Yeah. Right? Placebo. And that's why skepticism is such a big thing, right? Yeah. Because even with religion, although it's very complicated to talk about the topic, faith has to be acknowledged. You know, you got to respect someone's energy, because it's energy, like you said. You know, it's someone believing in something so strongly. Yeah. It makes them feel good. But I feel like that's a problem. You want to tell people that something is good for them, but if they don't believe, if they laugh about it, it's just not going to work for them.
I've been laughed at a lot. One of my mouth tape videos went viral on TikTok, and the amount of comments on there, like, she's crazy, my wife needs that, you should tape your mouth all day.
My wife needs that.
You should tape it all day.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
Should tape it all.
And then like
creative, yeah. They spend some time.
Quite funny,
I love
honest,
comments.
yeah.
Me and my husband just sit and look at the comments all the time. But
oh God, free entertainment.
What was the other one? Oh, like a sleep therapist was like, you can't heal sleep apnea with mouth tape, and I was like, have you tried it? 'Cause yeah. Oh, it's hard, and that's what I try not to do, is have skeptical a skeptical mind, because that's when you don't learn. So if you think you know everything, or if you think it's not going to work, it's not going to work. That's your reality.
Yeah.
And my sister scoffed at me. She's got a lung condition. She scoffed at me when I was like, do you want to try breathwork? She's like, no. And I was like, okay, just stay in your body. That's fine.
And we come across that so many times, like so often people just like, no, like that bad humor, that sarcasm kind of thing. You're like, oh, and it can affect you. It can hurt.
Yeah.
Especially depending on who it's coming from.
Oh my God.
If it's someone that you like,
when
if it's someone close
family.
to you. Yeah.
Family can hurt.
That hurts.
It takes you back to when you're 5 or something.
Yeah.
Hence why I do so much child work with people. And everyone's bawling all the time. They come in the class and they're like, I'm fine. And then we'll go back to their childhood and they're like, like, let it out.
Can you tell us a little bit about the process? Like how we don't want a free session, but like what is the conversation? Like what happens? What are you telling them?
I don't do anything. I just guide. I use binaural beats, and this is another form of frequency. So play one side a certain frequency and one side of a certain frequency. And what it does is it joins the brain and it comes into harmony. So your brain works for you when you do this. It's in most meditations. Sorry, I said frequency, but I meant different volumes. So you change the volumes.
Right.
The volumes connect. Then we do like rhythmical breathing, breath holds. I do about 4. And that's 20 minutes. And then I'll go into an inner child meditation and hypnotic type thing. So there's hypnotic things you can do where you look up and move your eyes like side to side. That gets your brain into a state of relaxation, gets you out of fight or flight. And then you walk downstairs and you're like spinning. And then we'll go into inner child. But also I do attachment. So you face your parents and that little child faces the parents and says what they need to. Because if they never had a voice, if they were just seen and not heard, you can say what you need to your parents. And it's helped me a lot because my dad was really overpowering, and we had a conflict like a few months ago in real life, and he was just like, you need Jesus, da-da-da, and pushed me into the wall because I swore. But I'm like nearly a 40-year-old woman with kids, right? So I stood up to him for the first time in my life and into his face, and I was just like, that's not okay. Like, I'm not your little girl anymore, and you can't push me around. And it was so empowering because I was finally able to like stand in my truth, which I never did growing up. I was always like, okay, I don't want to hurt. I was like walking on eggshells all my life with my dad. He was just like a control freak, and
Congratulations, that's hard.
Yeah,
it sounds hard. I'm just thinking
incredible.
about it. It sounds hard. Yeah,
it was really
huge.
hard.
And I guess flipping that, even the opposite, saying that you love them, saying that you care, that's also hard.
Yeah. So with my mum, it was like I'd seen the burden of her submitting to my dad, like when in this journey, and I just felt sorry for her. I was a little bit angry that she didn't mirror to me how I should have been with him. She didn't really stand up for herself, but she's getting there now. I think I've shaken up a lot in our family dynamic just by doing that, and it's been quite cool because he's having to go and do work on himself. He's like watching Jordan Peterson now, who's quite similar to, I know, he's weird.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but that's that side of it. And he needs to help the boomers in their own way. And I think he is a boomer, and now we're going to bring in this new generation of like lighter people that don't tear each other down as much.
We don't want to go there.
Yeah, don't go there. Don't go there.
Watched 3 videos of Jordan Peterson by accident, and I was like, oh, you know what? I'm good. I'm pretty okay.
Boomers.
I'm okay not having that energy in my life.
Yeah, it's bonus.
Good, yeah.
It's crazy though how technology hits all the people so differently. I was talking to a friend, and the way that she described her mom, I was like, oh my God, that's my father.
Yeah.
You know, like, because although I love how supportive he is, when you look at the Altbays page, like, he's the top supportive, but like, he can't speak English, so, you know, so he, he doesn't understand, but like he loves it. And I'm like, yeah, cool, man. Like, it's our way to bond, to connect, which is awesome. But it spends a lot of time on that device, you know. Like, and my friend was telling that she's from Israel, and she was telling me how hard it's been, you know, to deal with the whole situation. And she was saying, Mom keeps watching all these videos, and it's not doing good for her. And she keeps sharing things, and she shares things that are real, but she also shares things that are not. Yeah. And it's messing her up. And I'm like, well, that's part of the deal, to mess people up, you know, like, is to get them hooked that we cannot even see things clearly.
Yeah, and you get confused, and you're confused, and you don't know what's true, and then you're like, the world's falling apart.
Breathe, relax your shoulders, right? That's what you said?
Yeah.
Relax your shoulders.
That's from my email there.
Yes.
Relax your shoulders.
I just wanted one more thing that we were talking before the show, and I feel like it would be cool to bring up the lotus that you use in your Can you just tell me a little bit more about that? That was cool.
I use Blue Lotus. I actually use it from Kiss the Earth, and it's in use. I think she's Brazilian. Don't quote me on that. She imports it in, and it changed her life, so she wanted to bring it to New Zealand. It blooms 3 days a year, so it's super, like, I don't know, I think that's really cool. So I put that in a tea before breathwork. It calms the nervous system. I just feel this sense of peace come over me with it. And the Egyptians used to use it. They used it with wine, and they used it with mushrooms, and they'd have like mystical experiences. I don't know about with the wine. I think that was just to relax them. It does give you a wine feeling. I don't drink anymore, but it does give that feeling, and you just don't get groggy. But it has psychedelic properties, but you won't hallucinate on it. So it's just a really mild relaxant, I'd say. And yeah, I have clients whose minds are racing. They come in, have some, and they're like, wow, this is really nice. And then we do breath work, and it's even better. So it's just another tool to add to the toolbox of nervous system down regulation, I'd say, is what it does mostly. And what we all need, because a lot of people are just living in heightened states with the stimulants around us.
Completely. Oh my God, I work as a barista.
Oh yeah.
The people who come in, the variety of because the variety of people who need that boost. Yeah, like, I'm the barista who sits behind them, but I drink coffee once a week. They need the coffee.
Yeah, I know.
And they come in and they see it on their bodies and in their faces and in their expression. It's just they need this stimulant to exist throughout the day. It's like when I feel most tired, my go-to used to be I have a coffee. Now it's actually abstain from any sort of caffeine. Like, you have to actually think pretty hard to avoid caffeine and modern day, you know, no tea, no green tea, no coffee. Even cacao has like theobromine, which is similar. And so completely abstaining from all caffeine when I'm actually feeling quite drained has the better effect. And then I can rest. Yeah. Because in a caffeinated state, you absolutely, and I know this for a fact, you cannot rest.
Yeah, it literally shuts off your parasympathetic nervous system. So you can't, as you say, like, that's what it's doing to your body.
And then some people will say, push the body, and then you're damaging as well, right? By pushing it. Yeah. Try to not
push through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rest is like one of the, I think, the greatest healing devices is rest. Stress is one of the greatest killers. Although stress can be a good thing too, it releases oxytocin, gets you to do things for your family, gets you to survive. So
and it's a wake-up call, right?
Yeah,
it can be a wake-up call. Can be a sign that you have to pay attention to something that is happening to your body, right?
So yeah, absolutely.
Choosing to look at it with different lenses can also help. It's like sickness, isn't it? It's like the body giving you a sign.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at it, this is bad. Like, well, it's time to heal. It's time to pay attention and change things.
Yeah. Yeah. And as soon as something's bad, it's like you should go, why? Why is it bad? Like I always ask these things now. One big question that I have, you were talking about success before, is you switch it. What's failure? Oh, what is failure to you? Oh, what is suffering to you? That's a better word. Like, think about it. What is suffering in your world? For me, it was striving too hard. It was pushing my body to the limits. It was not spending enough time with my kids. It was being mean to my kids because I was overwhelmed, and getting sick because I was overwhelmed. And then you go to what's success then? And success is the opposite of those things. So living your life how you want it, taking time to breathe, you know, it puts it into perspective. And it's not just about making lots of money so everyone else thinks you're cool, because that's connection too, right? So you just want to make money, and underneath all that is you want people to see you.
Yeah.
You want to be heard. Beyonce wants to be heard. She sings. Like, you know what I mean? Like everyone, the Prime Minister wants to be heard. Everyone just wants that.
Yeah. Funnily enough, with all these platforms that we're creating here, and we're so happy with them, sometimes all I want is to be quiet. The other day I told Taylor, do you want to go for dinner? And he's like, nah. And I'm like, oh, good. I'm going to go by myself. You know, like, of course I love my friends' presence. Like that, I always go for that. I'm a social person, but just that thought of like, oh, cool. You know, like I don't
have to talk.
yeah, I'll be quiet. I read my magazine for the first time as a reader.
Cool.
Because the restaurants had the magazine, because Coromines is everywhere. And that was it. And that was amazing. I was like, cool, I can enjoy myself and be in this space with myself. And that was fun. Yeah,
alone time's super important. And he probably had a great time when you were gone.
He was working.
Amazing time.
I was not talking in his ear, so he could work at peace. Mary, how cool, man. That's awesome. That's a good conversation. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. How do we find you? Like, what are you offering at the moment? Services, like how do people...
Yeah, so I'm mostly on Instagram as free-to-breathe_. I called it that because it is free to breathe, and you're free to breathe. Because a lot of people don't think they even belong here, right?
Wow.
So your first breath that you took on earth was your birthright, that you belong here, and you don't need to strive, and you can just do your thing and be here, because you're all equal. And yeah, that's just a big reminder that it's called free to breathe. But I do sessions at my studio that I have in Tahawai, which is Katikati Tauranga, and they're really powerful, so you should come.
Nice.
And eventually I'm going to be doing like couples retreats there and things like that.
Beautiful.
That's about it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. I love your show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. We're putting a lot of love, as you can see, and energy.
Yeah.
Thank you. Petra.
Awesome. Oh my God.
Good to have you back, man.
Yeah, it's great to be back. Been a while.
It's been a while. When are you going to write a new piece for Coromines? When what's happening?
Oh, next time I go to Greece, I suppose.
Yeah?
It'll just be a thing now.
Damn.
Yeah. No, it's all right. Going tomorrow.
Cool.
I wish.
Great. in the nude beach kind of thing. Yeah.
No, they're not even doing that anymore. It's probably going to start snowing there soon. It's crazy.
Oh yeah. We want to talk more about that. We'll bring
Definitely.
you back and chat more about the trip. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. And for you watching us at home, make sure to like all our pages. We are on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. That really supports the platform. Share the link. Like the videos and the clips that you watch, because that's what we try to do. We try to support the people that are doing cool things. So you're welcome to do the same. Coromines magazine, if you want to write for the magazine, coromines.nz or hello@coromines.nz, and we will publish, especially if you are from the Coromando area. We're very welcoming, so we will take write-ups from people from all over the world, but especially from the Coromando community. We appreciate your stories and the Coro Classic. How did that go, Taylor?
Yeah, do you want to explain again how it works?
Yes, I can explain again. So we are collaborating with the beautiful people from the Coro Classic. They're coming to Matarangi on the 6th of January. The lineup is epic. I'm old school, so of course I'm excited to see Sublime with Rom, but they're going to have some epic bands and DJs, and we're going to give some double passes to the festival. So if you want to get your tickets and go partying with us, we're going to breathe a lot first so we can dance more. First, you like the Altbays page, and then you like the Coro Classic page on Facebook and on our live streams. You're going to write, and it's going to be up there, so you can go on the video even after our live stream now, and you just comment why you should be the one that is taking the double pass home. We're going to choose the most creative answer, and we're going to announce on Tuesday. We're going to give more tickets, so you got time. You can do it on other shows, but yeah, make sure to try every week. Okay, it's going to be a good one. Did I say it right, boss? Yeah? Good to check, eh? Otherwise he tells it off. Joking. We'll be back on Tuesday. Peace. Kakite. Ciao.